You are the champion of independence, and
Absolutely.
You and your business is really structured around that and helping independent lumberyards and retail hardware stores grow and thrive and compete with the big boys and girls. A lot of people have data, but it's so difficult to figure out what metrics actually matter.
That's right.
Because there's so many.
And the harder thing to find is where are the gaps. You
Filling.
can't measure that.
So hard.
But we can. Tweaking what you're doing at store level is an important thing to always do, and it's a constant thing, and we can help you with that.
Branding out loud, building what you're showing with your customers is so important. And I think people love to see what lumberyards, hardware stores, builders, they love to see our craft.
Absolutely, and they want to see your personality.
Yeah.
You can get lost in social media.
Yeah.
Be distinct, be unique. Don't be
100%.
afraid to have a sense of humor. People love those things, and they want to see who you genuinely are, so show it to them.
Some might say buy a pink hat.
Buy a big old pink hat.
Welcome to the Grit Blueprint Podcast, the show for bold builders, brand leaders, and legacy makers in the construction and building industry. I'm your host, Stefanie Couch, and I've been in this industry my entire life. Whether we're breaking down what's working in sales and marketing, new advances in AI and automation, or interviewing top industry leaders, you're going to get real-world strategies to grow your business, build your brand, and lead your team. Let's get to work.
Welcome to the Grit Blueprint Podcast. I'm your host, Stefanie Couch, and I'm excited today to be live and in person with Dan Starr, the president and CEO of Do It Best Group, who has recently had a lot of excitement in your life. And we're here today in Orlando at the spring market, the biggest market that Do It Best has ever had. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
And we are here with True Value, lots going on. You are the CEO, have been here for a long time, and you have been the CEO since 2016. But I would venture to say that maybe the last year has been probably the most exciting year you've had since you've joined Do It Best, right?
I would say that is the case. There's been more. If excitement and change can be just kind of correlated, then the answer is yes, by far. There's been more exciting change and some really great things, and a lot of difficult circumstances to navigate. All that is true.
Yeah, exactly. And you have a background that was really primed for this role, I think, with acquisitions and mergers, and you've done a lot of that. So let's just dig in.
Okay.
The first thing that everyone's going to want to know is you guys bought United Hardware, and then you just recently acquired True Value, which was a legacy company, been around a long time, a very well-known name. Yes. I mean, everybody you say, hey, True Value, they know it, right? I even can see the logo in my mind from my childhood, True Value Hardware. Yeah. Tell me a little bit about the last year and about that acquisition.
Yeah, and please be sure and corral me. I'll have a tendency to just meander all over the place. But it in many ways, it's been a long time coming. You know, that you hear an expression of people becoming a success overnight, you know, and they've worked for 20 years, and then suddenly they're a success overnight.
Yeah.
There's just a parallel to that. We have had conversations off and on with True Value for many, many years. So their CEO, their prior CEO, their CEO before that, I've had one-on-one conversations with all of them at some level or another about some kind of combination or acquisition. The timing wasn't right, mainly because True Value it's the reason they went into bankruptcy. They had all these very, very large legacy debts and obligations, and that unfortunate trajectory continued to a point where it was then no longer viable. And that's what triggered the acquisition. And nobody knew when that was going to come. It's been predicted for more than 20 years.
Yeah, they got into a hole they just couldn't crawl out of. And
right.
Yeah. Well, it's exciting because we're here at this market, and I heard over 10,000 members here with Do It Best and True Value combined.
Yeah, there's more than 10,000 badges out there. And there's some vendor badges as part of that mix too, but we have more Do It Best members that are here than when we were here 2 years ago in Orlando.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And then you add all the True Value members on top of it. Well, the space we have is huge, and it feels kind of crowded on the floor.
Sure. Yeah. I was just walking and just people everywhere. And there's a real buzz. And the industry's been talking about this.
Yeah.
I mean, every trade publication, everything I look at, it's talking about this acquisition. But what are you the most excited about? I mean, what gets you fired up when you think about where you are today and where you're going to go with this and how the members are going to be seen? Because one thing I do want to point out, and this is the thing I love about Do It Best the most, I grew up in an independent hardware store in Lumberyard, and you are the champion of independence, and
Absolutely.
You and your business is really structured around that and helping independent lumberyards and retail hardware stores grow and thrive and compete with the big boys and girls. So what excites you the most about it?
All that. No, I mean, what excites me the most about that are really two things. One is kind of the nerdy behind the scenes. The other is the very public. The nerdy behind the scenes is that scale matters. Scale makes a very big difference, particularly when you do something that is very cost-centric, capital-intensive, where you're taking in product into warehouses, running trucks and distributing them all across the United States and in 50 countries. It's a very complex offering. If you can build scale at that, you can drive efficiencies that are stunning. It's a little nerdy.
I know. I was in distribution
flashy,
for years. I'm as nerdy as you on that.
But it is the best stuff because it's like
matters.
that's what we do. That's the heart of what we do.
Yeah.
And that's where we can deliver a ton of value. So part of it is the opportunity that comes from scale. The other part of it is more the public facing, the opportunity that comes from having two different ways to go to market. One is a very well-known retail brand. The other is really more of a member-centric way of going to market. They're both member-centric, but I just mean in terms of retail brand.
Sure.
The opportunities with that, I think, were needed in our industry.
Absolutely.
And I think that that's going to be a very powerful and exciting thing to be able to work on in the future.
Yeah, and as the bigger companies do continue to merge and acquisition and get larger, the competition for independent lumberyards and retail stores is pretty tough.
It is.
But there is such a competitive advantage. I believe that the small business owner on the ground knows their market, knows their people, knows their customers. There is a huge opportunity to capitalize, but where that leverage is lacking is in that scale. They can't call and just buy the huge whole mill worth of lumber. Some of these people that are big, they buy more lumber than we used to at distribution with a huge company. So you guys have that scale that you can help leverage so the small business owner actually can take that and partner with someone like Do It Best or True Value and really get all the benefits of being huge and also have all the leverage of staying small and on the ground with where you know what you're doing in your market.
I couldn't have said it better. It's a wonderful thing. And the fact they can do that in a setting where they have the confidence of knowing that they're a shareholder of this company. They're not just a customer.
Yeah.
And so they're not just a customer, they're our owner, and they also have a board of directors that's entirely comprised of member owners themselves.
Yeah.
And so there's this stewardship where it's like every bit of the benefit of all that is being driven right back to that group of people.
Yeah, it's a pretty beautiful setup. I don't know anybody else is doing anything like this. You guys are the largest member-owned co-op in the whole United States and the world, maybe?
I think it might be the world.
Okay, it's pretty cool.
I'm not aware of any co-op as large as we are now.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, you've had a busy year.
Yes.
And personally, you've also had a pretty cool year.
I have.
So you just became a grandfather. Tell me a little bit about that, because I know it's been stressful on the work side, but it had to have been filled with joy on that side.
I didn't know you were going to ask me about that, but that is true. In December 11th, my eldest son, he and his wife Annie, they welcomed a little baby boy. And everyone tells you that being a grandparent is just the best. And I think they're underselling it. It is the most joyful experience that I've ever had.
That's awesome. And you got it right before Christmas, so pretty cool Christmas present. And I'm sure that in a year or two, he will hopefully be roaming the market floors.
He's coming to the fall show.
I will tell you, I went to hardware shows as a young child, my whole childhood with my parents, and my sisters went with me. It is still, right now, one of my most core memories in my life and the most fun. You know, everybody's got free candy. Now there's all these. Today, you guys had puppies at one of your booths.
Did you stop there?
Yes.
They are the cutest. That was stunning.
I'm surprised I actually made it to this interview because you're pretty awesome, Dan. But puppies?
No, puppies win.
I may not have one in my bag somewhere.
They're just, and there were like 6 or 7. I thought there might be just like little, 1 or 2. And no, there's like, I don't know.
They're adorable.
8.
I know. But this show is great for kids. I've been seeing kids everywhere. And that's also something I love about, small businesses. It is family oriented.
Absolutely.
And, these owners, they get away. This is a vacation for them. Tonight, we're going to go to Universal Studios. I'm not sure if you're ready for the roller coasters or not, but we're going to be out and about, and Harry Potter World. Everything's happening tonight.
I'll meet you on the front row of the Velocicoaster.
I don't know what I'm going to do with my hat.
It's not going to survive it, but you can wear it on the ride. You just
will you help me make sure it doesn't come off on the roller coasters?
Yeah.
It's a little scary because people don't. I don't know what I'm going to do without my hat.
Well, fortunately, your name's on it, so I'm sure to be returned to you. Yeah.
That is a good point.
Yeah.
Very good point. All right. Well, I want to segue a little bit to one of my favorite topics, which is lumber and building materials. Do It Best has long been known for hard lines, hardware, Milwaukee, DeWalt. You'll have all these amazing brands. You even have farm and ranch stuff everywhere. I heard, and I'm going to check this out later, there's baby chicks on the floor.
There are.
Okay, got to go check that out. I've seen that already on one of the booths. But you are actually exceptional at lumber and building materials and have a very large team. So tell me a little bit, for maybe a member or someone in the world that doesn't know about what you do. I've had the pleasure of working with your team the last year in that segment. Tell me a little more about that.
Yeah, I'm happy to tell you about that. It is a very, very large part of our business, and it always has been. From the very beginning and the foundation of our company, we were founded in 1945, and it was a collection of independent stores at that time in Indiana, Michigan, and Ohio, and lumber dealers were a part of that from the very beginning. So it's not some kind of sideline thing that we started dabbling in a few years ago. And you measure our sales in the billions of dollars when it comes to lumber and building materials. So it's not exactly a small part of the business. And it ranges from everything. So a lot of that is direct relationships with mills, carloads of lumber. A lot of that is we have reload centers across the U.S. where you can get access to less than truckload and a range of products. So those are like from small to large. We can serve anybody who's anywhere in the U.S. on all their needs on lumber and building materials. And it's the most complete arrangement too, because all those folks, the real lumber people, and you know those people, right?
Yes.
The sawdust in the veins type of people. They take a pride almost in the fact that they're lumber people. They don't sell trinkets.
Yeah.
And what they mean by that,
My dad's one of those.
Is he one of those guys?
He was like, paint, no thank you.
Yeah.
The day we got rid of the paint line was the best day of my dad's life, probably still to this day. But he just didn't love it. He's a lumberman, and he wants to sell lumber, and he still feels that way.
And it's hard to convince, and you don't want to convince them otherwise.
Yeah.
That's what they do.
That's right.
That's great. But there's also this complement that the building materials, some of the fasteners, some of the building products that go along with that, to have hard lines distribution to support that.
Sure.
Because there's a lot of folks who do a lot of lumber who also do niche categories that are lumber adjacent. Let's just
Fasten Master or Simpson Strong Tie.
You name it.
So many things. You got to have it because those contractors don't want to have to go to 2 different places, and you might lose the lumber business because you don't have it. So you guys have a full line of everything. A lot of it is in warehouse, so you don't have to stock these big giant quantities of stuff.
Right.
You buy what you need, just in time inventory, which right now is so important with our economy. People don't want to keep months and months of inventory without turns.
That's
it's
exactly
scary.
right. You get to the other side of COVID, and that's exactly right. They focus on skinning down the inventory so you're not overextended. Certainly something like lumber.
Yes.
The pricing there has been, I'm sure you follow it enough to go, that is not for the faint of heart.
No, I've always said my whole life that lumber trading is like literally playing the roulette wheel. I've always thought it was like the riskiest job there is in our industry, because you've got to have a stomach for it.
And you have, you must be an adrenaline junkie. But that, I mean, I look at that and I go, that to me is one of the other huge benefits of working with, if I can just be, selfish.
Yeah.
Working with an organization like ours, because some of that is, hey, do you offer a service to de-risk some of that? Yes.
Sure.
Yes. We hedge.
Yep.
All right. And so there's a way for us to stabilize that so that they can get just-in-time sort of inventory, and it de-risks a little bit.
Yeah.
We can also offer them, futures and other vehicles to take a little bit of that price risk out of the equation, which can kill you.
Absolutely. And we actually implemented this time at market for the first time on the LBM show floor at the booth. We're doing learning sessions. And one of those was about lumber futures this morning, talking about marketing, things like that. So you guys are giving value added services to your members, not only to offer product, but you're offering experts, and you're offering how to actually teach them to be empowered to be experts themselves, and their traders and their people on the ground, so that they understand how they can use the power that you guys have. Yeah,
and we're not trying to encourage people to be roulette players.
Yeah.
What we're saying is it's risky to be in this business.
That's right.
How can you de-risk it? How can you utilize these tools to lower your overall cost of goods?
Yeah.
That's what we're after.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
How would you say that independent dealers should be working towards leveraging things today? Like, what is the biggest thing that they could do to strengthen their position in the market?
I'm a big proponent of making sure that you're not just following along with others and then trying to offer the breadth of what you can do without really specializing in anything.
It's hard to be a jack of all trades, for sure.
It really is. And then you're just competing on, commodity price for something. That's very, very hard. I do think that the folks that are the most successful are the ones that really find something that is theirs, and they are not just in it, they're an expert in it, and they do it like nobody else. I think of Doug Manns and what he does with decking and decking materials. Their whole company, they know how to work that part of it. So yes, you can go to Manns Lumber and you can get dimensional lumber. You also have the ability to do things like from a decking and that's still part of the home improvement space. It's not just construction, but you can do some things that are out of this world, and they are the destination.
Sure.
So specialization and being really in it, I think, is pretty critical.
Yeah, I love it when I see people, my background is a lot of millwork stuff, so doors and windows. That's a premium category. You can charge higher margins, but it's tough and it's technical. So the likelihood that someone's going to need your expertise in that, and you be that specialist that they're always going to come to, if you do it right, you can have a customer for life. If
you do it right, then fine, sell the volume stuff, but get the high margin stuff while you're at it, would you please?
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly right.
It's a great way to really hedge against some of these crazy market changes that you see in lumber.
That's right.
Well, I want to shift a little bit to something I love talking about, which is technology. And I know you are also very adamant about the place that technology has in our future as a business. I don't think of our industry necessarily as always the most forefront runner in technology. I still have customers that have fax machines.
Do you really?
Yes. And they use them.
Oh, no. I know.
And it's funny because that's pretty common in lumberyards to see at least the old rogue fax machine, just in case.
And you got to have a landline to go with it.
100%. So I want to talk a little bit about what you see. So AI, data, e-commerce is something that Do It Best does very well.
Yeah.
You have an amazing leader in Allison Flatjord, who is a huge leader in e-commerce at some very large companies outside of our industry.
Yeah.
And she's brought expertise there. But tell me what you think people should be thinking about. What are your thoughts on just technology in general? What do you see coming, biggest trends?
I look at that and say, I believe as we evolve, that will become the sustainable competitive advantage. Is making sure that we are leveraging data and leveraging technology in the right way. And it's also something that our members cannot do that on their own. They don't have access to the overwhelming amount of data that their co-op does. So it really is incumbent upon us to do it because nobody else will. So we have to do it, and we have to get better at it, and it will be our competitive advantage. And I'll give you just a couple quick examples. So there's a lot of people I think that might listen and go, all right, fine, but what does that even mean in our space? I think one of those might be evaluating not just the movement, but the completeness of of a department. Do we have all the right things? Are we missing anything? Are we heavy in some things that aren't moving in the right way? And the harder thing to find is where are the gaps?
Yeah.
How do you know what you should have when you don't have it?
Yeah.
Right?
It's a gut feeling.
You can't measure that.
So hard.
But we can. And so I think when you do velocity of sales and adjacencies, and you start to aggregate that data and then you work it together, you can turn that back and say,
absolutely,
tweaking your what you're doing at store level is an important thing to always do, and it's a constant thing, and we can help you with that. And we can both modernize it, keep it fresh, keep it relevant, make sure you've got everything you need.
Yeah.
Another one is just on the buying side, right? When you have all that data at your fingertips and you need to understand, in our business, it's cyclical, right? You can see it every single year, whether you have a strong winter or a light one.
Sure.
There's a cyclical pattern. Even with prices that are all over the place, there's still a volume pattern that takes place, especially in lumber and building materials. And when you evaluate those things and you make sure that you're not, our members don't want to be heavy in inventory. We're more efficient if we don't have to be either. But you have to have the right things at the right time at the right price. And so using those systems to help with demand forecasting and replenishment is pretty critical to being good at your job.
Absolutely.
We have to do that.
A lot of people have data. They have something. Their ERP gives them numbers. But it's so difficult to figure out, number one, what metrics actually matter.
That's right.
Because there's so many. And then it's different for each business, each category. And then also extrapolating data in a way that, like you said, who's going to spend the time looking through these spreadsheets that I've exported from my ERP system that have 5,000 rows?
That's right.
You know, and I think AI can help with a lot of that. I'm loving what I'm seeing with some of the things we're doing. And I know you guys are using some things to really optimize, okay, this is the outcome I'm searching for. Now you let AI go spend the time instead of a human to extrapolate what you need and give you reports.
Yeah.
What do you think AI is going to do? How do you see that? And do you use it in your day-to-day? I'm curious.
I actually have used it.
Okay.
I actually have. It was more for personal business than it was for anything that was work related. But I asked AI to basically write me an itinerary. My youngest son is graduating from college. I'm finally getting them all off the payroll.
Oh, that's awesome. Where does he go to school?
Wheaton College in Chicago. You know where that is?
Yeah, I do.
So he's graduating this spring, and I want to go on a little trip, just dad and son, as a graduation present to him. But I had generative AI build an itinerary for me, and it was good.
I know.
It wasn't junk. You have to work on it, but it's good.
I think that's one of the things people miss is, with AI, it can just about do anything.
It can.
But you got to prompt it. And you probably have to prompt it more than once and nuance it. Yeah. Just like if you were giving directions when you're driving, if you dump all the directions at the very beginning, it's different than saying turn left here, now turn right here, and you're prompting it that way. So the itinerary that you get, I'm sure you had to say, okay, we want to be a little less busy on this afternoon. Yeah. We might want to be in the same area, but it can be a travel agent. It can be whatever you want it to be.
Very impressive. Now, I don't use it to help me write.
Yeah. It does. Sometimes it takes the character out. I write most of my LinkedIn posts still by hand.
Yeah.
I get on there and I'll start writing a hook but what it is good for is ideation. So if you're not sure what you want to write about, you could say do some research on some things that might be a good topic for LBM dealers.
Right. I think that's exactly right. It's much easier to edit than it is to create.
For sure.
So
100%.
Fine, do that. Right.
Well, we're talking about LinkedIn and talking about different social media. I want to talk a little bit about branding and the power of being visible and having presence in your market. We have a lot of people that do exceptional jobs, as a lot of manufacturers really have spent, like I think of Kohler as, they spend $10 million on their booth at IBS at the International Builder Show, $10 million on 1 week. It's hard to fathom that, but they also are known in that category as the top brand by consumer brand surveys. So what they're doing has been decades of spending this money to accrue that brand value. Yeah. How important do you think branding is for small independent dealers and hardware stores, and how can they start to build that brand value? Yeah.
How important is it? I think it's very, very important. And it's important to distinguish it from having, a logo. That's not That's not the same thing.
Sure.
And I think no matter who you are, it's important. The other thing I love about branding is the power that can come over time by either spending or performing. And what I mean by that is, as important as the brand is for Kohler and how much they spent on it for the decades that they have, that's incredible. The example that I also like, though, is a company like Verizon. The day before they existed, nobody ever even heard of this word. It's a made-up word.
Yeah.
And then they dropped tens of millions of dollars to inform the public who they are.
Sure.
Everybody knows who they are.
Absolutely.
That was how they acquired branding. The comparative to that for me is Costco.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen a television advertisement for Costco?
Nope.
Do you have an expectation of what the brand means and what the experience is going to be when you go into one?
Yeah, and absolutely how much the hot dog's going to cost.
Exactly. And no one had to advertise that
Sure.
for you. That brand was built by execution.
Absolutely.
And I think our members, our retailers, have the ability to choose both path or somewhere in the middle
Sure.
of that. But you don't have to spend $10 million a year or a week at a booth
That's right.
to create a brand. You can create a brand, especially in your local community.
Yeah.
If you do it right, if you cultivate expectations and then exceed them, you're going to get a brand.
Yeah.
And it may be more powerful than just having a name that's well advertised.
I totally agree. I think branding is really the association of two things together. So, the brand of who I am and what they think of me when I'm not in the room, my personal brand, your personal brand, it's important. I think business owners can do a lot more on that side, and it's pretty much free. Who you are and what you're known for as an executive or as a leader in your company, it helps you recruit people into your company. Employees, talent is a struggle with every single business that we have in our industry. And so there's a lot of ways to do it. And like you said, you don't have to spend $10 million. But the one thing that I do think is really important, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, is good brands take time. And if you're willing to do it for 5 years, 10 years, if you're in it for the long haul and you consistently do it, you will get value, whether it's spent money or execution time or a combination of both. But you can't build a brand in a week.
No, you
Now,
can.
Verizon bought one pretty quickly.
Verizon might challenge that a little
If
bit.
you have
but you're
enough
right.
money, it does expedite the process. But referral branding and branding by word of mouth and branding out loud, building what you're showing with your customers is so important. And I think people love to see what Lumberyards, hardware stores, builders, they love to see our craft. People are so curious about it. And so it can start just as simple as just posting on social media, like a picture of or a video of what you're building or what you sold, the home that you sold those windows to.
Absolutely. And they want to see your personality.
Yeah.
You can get lost in social media.
Yeah.
Be distinct, be unique. Don't be
100%.
afraid to have a sense of humor.
Yeah.
People love those things and they want to see who you genuinely are. So show it to them.
Some might say buy a pink hat.
Buy a big old pink hat. Yeah.
I'll have you one for the indie. It's happening, Dan.
Okay.
It's going to have your name on the back.
I'm not sure that that's my brand. I'm just going to say it like that.
Oh, I love it. All right. Well, I want to close this out. Thank you so much for your time today. And I want to just ask one final question.
Okay.
What is one thing that people should know about the Do It Best group that you think maybe they don't know, that maybe it's a hidden jewel? Any secrets that you would give that people should know about your company?
I'm not sure that it's a secret.
Okay.
The hidden gem, though, or the gem that's front and center, is that I think top to bottom, our organization is committed to a culture that is driven by servant leadership. I had a retailer stop me on the floor on my way trying to get over here, who wanted to stop me and, first of all, just say thank you, and then went through just telling me a story. Servant leadership is a nice title, but he told me a story, and I think it's more relevant. And it was his prior experience in trying to deal with the organization that he came from, who supported them as a supplier. And then he said, we engage with your people. If we reach out to them, it's not 45 minutes before I have a response back. They're always kind. They're always working to try to get to my problem and help me solve it. It's unbelievable the kind of, and that's just what you might consider the basics of customer service. But when and being good and being responsive to your customer is a good thing to teach. A posture of servant leadership is a slightly different thing, but it lends itself to good customer service.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that when you recruit for it, when you preach it, when you ask people to really genuinely share that they have care and concern for somebody else, that you treat somebody with kindness, with dignity, with respect, when that's part of your cultural expectation and your values, and that you say, hey, we're entirely others focused. We're here, our entire mission is to help make other people successful. That's a calling that you can respect.
Absolutely.
And you can enjoy that over the course of a career. When you invite people into that and they really buy in, that to me is whatever, the secret sauce or gem that you might not appreciate until you need it.
I love it. When you have someone who's thinking about your business when they're on their time and they're not in front of you, that's a powerful thing. And I think your team at Do It Best does that exceptionally well and emulates that exact spirit. So I love it. And being a champion of independence when the independent sometimes seems like they're getting overshadowed by all the big things happening in our industry, you guys are here right front and center fighting for them every single day, and I love that. So thank you so much for spending some time with me. Make sure that you go pet some puppies on the way out at the market. It's really
does
important.
Your heart good.
It does. It's a warm and fuzzy, and I hope that you have a great rest of the market, and I appreciate you being on the Grit Blueprint.
Thank you.
That's it for this episode of the Grit Blueprint podcast. For more tools, training, and industry content, make sure to subscribe here and follow me on LinkedIn and other social media platforms. To find out more about how Grit Blueprint can help you grow your business, check us out at our website, gritblueprint.com.